Dear Ned, remember Sally Mcdonald, the woman who took those photos that Dad has up in his office? Well, she just bought a house in Moon Lake, Pennsylvania. A gangster named Mickey Malone built it back in the 20s as his country getaway. We're talking major fixer-upper. Anyway, last night Sally called and she said she desperately needed my detective skills. She refused to say why over the phone. Naturally, I said I'd drive to Moon Lake immediately. But weird things started happening the moment I pulled up. First, this big tree fell down behind my car and has me totally blocked in. And then I discovered that Sally's gone. She left a note that suggested something terrible happens here at night. She's supposed to call me from her car. So here I sit, writing to you while I wait for the phone to ring. It's nighttime, and although part of me is dying to know what frightened Sally away, another part of me is starting to feel a little uneasy. I'll let you know what happens. Ever yours, Nancy. Hello?
Nancy, hi, it's Sally. We have to talk fast because I'm in my car and my cell phone's running low, so we might get cut off. But did you see my note?
Yes, are you all right?
No, I feel awful bailing on you like that. You must think I'm such a flake.
I'm just worried about you. What's wrong?
I couldn't stand the thought of spending another night there. I knew you were on your way, but it didn't help. I just got too scared.
You make it sound like the house is haunted or something.
Not the house, the woods. Just wait until it gets dark. Then you'll see. What am I saying? Nancy, you shouldn't be there by yourself either. Why don't you just go get in your car and go home? Or drive to Philadelphia. My aunt's got plenty of room.
No way. You've got me so curious, I wouldn't leave even if I could.
What do you mean?
A tree fell down behind my car just as I was driving up to the house. I'm blocked in.
Oh, the dead maple beside the driveway. Oh, they told me it was in danger of falling over when I had the place inspected. I just never got around to doing anything about it. Listen, call M's Emporium. That's a store on the lake. Emily knows everybody. She'll know who to call if she decides to answer her phone.
It's late. Won't the store be closed?
Where's my brain? Okay, look. I just bought a little outboard motorboat. I haven't used it yet, but the guy who put it in for me said it should run just fine. It's tied up at the dock out front. Just get in it and go. Go anywhere. Just get away from the house.
Why? What on earth do you think is going to happen?
The dogs. Those dogs. Out of nowhere. They're outside howling and snarling. Teeth and claws. Horrible.
Dogs? Hello? Did you say dogs? Hello?
Nancy, how's it going?
Hey, Bess. How'd you know it was me?
Telepathy, of course. Just another of my many talents.
You are so full of it. She got caller ID, Nancy. So now, instead of hanging up on the geeks that always call her, she just doesn't answer the phone.
Very funny. So what's up?
Believe it or not, Sally went to her aunt's in Philadelphia. I'm here by myself.
Why? What happened? Did you two have a fight?
Oh, Bess. Nancy Drew does not have fights. Heated debates? Maybe. Fights? Never.
Why else would Sally just take off like that?
She said something happens when it gets dark here. Something really, really scary.
Scary as in what?
Yeah, people type scary or ghost type scary?
Dog type scary. She called to warn me about the dogs.
Dogs? As in Rin Tin Tin, Old Yeller...
Huckleberry Hound?
Apparently there are some dogs around here that come out at night and are pretty scary. That's about all she has a chance to say before we got cut off.
Dogs aren't scary. Maybe it's some other kind of animal.
That's possible.
As soon as you hang up, you're gonna go prowling around outside, aren't you?
Why, Bess, that's a great idea.
Well, be careful.
And if anything does happen, run. No, wait. Call us first, then run.
I will. Bye, you guys.
Good luck, Nancy.
And stay in touch.
Now look what you've done. That was a Strixvaria. At least I think it was. Never know for sure now, will I?
I'm sorry, but you startled me. What are you doing out here?
Birds. I'm trying to look for birds. What are you doing out here?
I'm Nancy Drew. I'm staying in this house, and I heard a lot of weird noises, so I came out here to investigate.
That was me, Miss Nancy Drew, calling in birds. And doing a pretty good job of it, too, till you showed up. Where'd you come from, anyway?
I drove in today from River Heights to visit my friend Sally Mcdonald.
Now, why would you want to do a thing like that? The Malone house is no place for one young woman, let alone two.
You've met Sally?
I talked to her a couple of times. But you know, the last time I saw her, she wasn't doing so good. She acted real anxious, scared.
Did she say what was wrong?
The dogs. The dogs of Mickey Malone. Legend goes that when Malone was finally arrested and hauled away, his 4 dogs went running off into the woods and were never seen again. People would just hear them, howling like their hearts were broken every night until one by one, they all died and went silent. But every time someone tries living in the Malone house, back they come.
What do the dogs do?
Every night, ever since she moved in, you could hear them howling. And some nights the dogs would appear outside the house, running around, snarling and barking and throwing themselves at the doors and windows. And then they'd be gone. They're buried in the cemetery just beyond the house, you know. Them and Malone both.
The dogs would attack her house?
It's like they don't want anybody but Malone living there. I guess they don't know he's dead. And so are they.
Did they ever attack Sally?
She never gave them the chance. After the first attack, she stopped going out at night. Just locked the doors when it got dark and sat tight until morning.
Why haven't the police investigated?
This isn't New York City, Miss Nancy Drew. All they got around here is one officious little park ranger. And all Jeff Akers does is sit around all day trying to figure out how he can get himself transferred out of here to a bigger park.
Do you live close by?
I just come to Moon Lake in the spring to look for birds. Got an observation platform just up the path, kind of my base camp, and I've got a little outboard down there on the lake. Left my car at the big dock up lake. Don't really need it.
Are those the ghost dogs?
Yes, ma'am. Which is why I think it would be a good idea if I went my merry way and you got yourself back inside that house. Good luck, Miss Nancy Drew. Well, it's Miss Nancy Drew.
Please, just call me Nancy.
I will if you keep your voice down. I just heard a cerulean warbler.
Really? Are they rare?
Something tells me they're gonna be with you around. You didn't come up here to chit-chat, did you?
Do you know much about outboard motors?
Sure do. Only type of motorized vehicle that's allowed on Moon Lake. Heck, if it were up to me, I'd ban them too. Have everybody get around by canoe. Nothing like the threat of physical activity to keep tourists away.
Why don't you like tourists?
I came to see birds, not people. The more people there are in a forest, the fewer birds there are. It's a fact of life. Reason I like to come here is because nobody else does. It's perfect. Not a decent grocery store, restaurant, or motel for miles.
There's no place nearby that sells boat parts? Sally's outboard is missing a spark plug.
I might be able to help you out. After all, I was a Boy Scout. Be prepared.
You mean you have a spark plug I could buy?
Well, just so happens I've got 2 spark plugs right here in my pocket. Question is, if I give you one, what do I get for it? I don't need cash, but maybe you could take a few pictures for me. Know how to use a digital camera?
Sure. What would you like me to take pictures of?
Birds, of course. There's a couple of birds I'm supposed to take pictures of for PEPSOB. That's People for the Preservation and Study of Birds. You can recognize them by their songs, which are on this tape, which you can play on my cassette player, which you're gonna have to get from M's Emporium as soon as you get your boat fixed. Think you can handle that?
I know I can.
Here's everything you'll need. M's Emporium is up lake on the west side. Not that I'm trying to get you out of my hair or anything, but try not to come pestering me till you're done, okay? One more thing. You smoke?
Cigarettes? No.
These woods may not look it, but they're tinder dry. One lit match, and the best bird habitat on the East Coast will go up in smoke. So watch what you do, 'cause if anything like that happens, I won't be looking for birds anymore, I'll be looking for you. Watch yourself out there.
Nancy, how's it going?
This caller ID stuff is going to take some getting used to.
I'm here too, Nan. What's going on?
I saw the dog Sally warned me about, and she was right. They were pretty scary.
You sure they weren't wolves or something?
They were definitely dogs. They came out of nowhere and started leaping at the windows and scratching at the doors like they wanted to get in.
Maybe that was just their way of being friendly.
These dogs were not friendly, believe me, and they had glowing yellow eyes. A birdwatcher I ran into said they were ghosts.
Ghosts?
The man who built Sally's place on Moon Lake was a gangster. The birdwatcher said that the ghosts of his dogs show up every time someone new tries to live here.
The place is haunted by ghost dogs?
Like there's such a thing as ghosts. But it does sound like you've got another mystery on your hands, Detective Drew.
Bye, you guys.
Good luck, Nancy.
And stay in touch.
Hey there! Welcome to M's Emporium. I'm Emily Griffin.
My name's Nancy Drew. I'm staying out at the old Malone place. You know, the house Sally Mcdonald bought?
Now what's she doing inviting guests out to that old dump?
She's got a little problem she's hoping I can solve. But right now, I need a chainsaw.
A chainsaw?
A tree fell down in the driveway behind my car, and now I'm blocked in.
I'll get Tucker Davis to take care of it. Gotta warn you, though. Tucker tends to do things in his own sweet time. So how come Sally ain't with you?
She couldn't stand the thought of spending another night in that house.
I told her. I said, Sally, that old house is gonna be nothing but trouble. And sure enough, Malone's hounds have come back. Just when we all thought they were finally resting in peace.
Have you ever seen the dogs?
Nope. Don't want to, neither. Just hearing 'em howl's bad enough. Scares the bejeebies out of me.
I got the bejeebies scared out of me twice last night. Just before I saw the dogs, I caught a man named Red Knot prowling around outside the house.
The bird watcher. Comes in every so often to stock up on that weirdo food he eats. You know how them tree hugger types are.
It seemed to me that he was more into watching birds than hugging trees.
Yeah, well, whatever. One thing's for sure, he's gonna wind up with a dose of buckshot in his hind end if he keeps tramping through people's yards making noises like he just popped out of a UFO.
Mr. Knott did me a favor, and in return he asked me to pick up a cassette player from you.
Oh yeah, I got it right here. Thought maybe the old coot had forgotten he left it here. What else can I do you for?
I need to get the water from Sally's well tested. How would I go about doing that, do you know?
Just get a water testing kit from the ranger station and follow the directions.
Where's the ranger station?
Just up lake from Sally's on the east side.
Why would there be a problem with the water?
'Cause it's well water. And seeing as Malone dug that well 80 years ago, what gets pumped out of it could be pretty funky.
These so-called ghost dogs left very real paw prints. I saw some near the cemetery that's by the Malone house. Have you ever been there?
Can't say as I have. Poking around cemeteries ain't exactly a hobby with me.
Where do you find your... Achoo!
Bless you. It's all the dust. Sometimes I think it grows on this stuff.
You seem to be selling everything under the sun in here.
Best part is, I got most of this stuff for free. See, back in the days of Prohibition, that old Malone place used to be party central. Only way to get to and from back then was by boat. And when those boats dumped, on account of bad weather or bad driving or the feds suddenly showing up, well, everything from diamond necklaces to full bottles of illegal booze sank to the bottom of the lake.
So it's finders keepers, huh?
That's right. See, recovering objects from the lake bed is illegal. According to Squeaky Wheel Akers, dragging the lake for artifacts was upsetting its delicate eco-balance. So thanks mostly to his constant squawking, the state banned it.
Squeaky Wheel Akers?
Jeff Akers, local park ranger. I keep telling him all this stuff washed up on shore. But does that snobby little stickler for rules believe me?
Sounds like you aren't real fond of Ranger Akers.
Jeff Akers could take all his precious rules and regulations and take a flying leap. Now, I got nothing against getting more customers in here, mind you. But I kind of like Moon Lake the way it is. Small, quiet, out of the way. But Jeff Akers, why, there's nothing he'd like better than to see all the lake and all the property around it turned into one big, noisy, jam-packed state park.
Why would he want that?
He's the type of guy who likes to boss people around, makes them feel important. So if the park got way bigger and was crawling with tourists, why, instead of giving out maybe one ticket for littering every 2 days, he'd be giving out 12 tickets every 2 hours. He'd be in heaven. Well, hey, I'm sure you got better things to do than getting your ear chewed off by yours truly.
Guess I'll see you later.
Keep on trucking.
Hello, can I help you?
Hi, my name's Nancy Drew. I'm visiting Sally McDonald. Are you the park ranger?
Park Ranger Jeff Akers, at your service. Let's see, Sally McDonald is the woman who bought the old Malone place.
That's right, only she's gone back to Philadelphia. Malone's dogs got to her.
Don't tell me she believes all that ghost dog stuff.
I saw them myself.
Whatever's out there, I'm sure they're no more and no less than exactly what they look and sound like. Dogs. Living, breathing, very noisy dogs.
Why do you think dogs would attack Sally's house?
Dogs can be trained to do almost anything.
Any idea what would make a dog's eyes glow yellow?
Something in their diet, maybe? Some oddball vitamin or protein.
As a park ranger, don't you want to know for sure what's behind these dog attacks?
Do you always ask this many questions?
As a matter of fact, I do.
I'm a very busy man, Miss Drew, but I am here to serve the public.
Do you have something I could use to test the well water at Sally's?
Sure do. Simple to use, too. Just pump some water into this vial, return the sample to me, I'll send it off, and in a day or two you'll find out whether or not your water's fit to drink.
Does everyone out here have a well?
Everyone who doesn't want to die of thirst does. Hooking up to a municipal water supply is out of the question. Too expensive.
This place isn't exactly your ordinary ranger station, is it?
It's also the Moon Lake Post Office, and it's the unofficial Moon Lake Museum of Factual and Natural History. I've lived here all my life, so I can't help but feel obligated to protect not only the area's flora and fauna, but also its past.
Which is apparently rather colorful.
As a member of the law enforcement community, I prefer to dwell on the positive aspects of history instead of on the activities of a bunch of glorified thugs.
So you'd probably like to see the old Malone place torn down and forgotten.
Not necessarily. It's hard to ignore its potential as a tourist attraction. And if that's what it takes to draw more people to Moon Lake, I'm a reasonable man.
As an officer of the law, can you think of anyone who might want to scare Sally off her property?
The woman who owns the shop across the lake? Emily Griffin? I can't prove it, but I'm pretty sure she's been dragging the lake in front of Malone's house for artifacts, which is illegal. It would be a lot easier for her to do her dirty work if nobody was living there.
What do you know about the cemetery behind the Malone house?
People are buried there. Beyond that, what's to know?
Is Malone buried there?
That's the rumor.
Would it be okay if I looked around?
Please do. And if you have any questions, any more questions, just ask.
Would you mind mailing this letter for me?
Not at all.
Thanks for all your help.
Not a problem. Oh, and one last thing. The deer mouse population has boomed this year, so please take precautions if you're cleaning out any area where they may have nested. They can carry some nasty diseases.
Thanks for the tip, Ranger Akers.
Hello?
Bess, it's Nancy.
I know that. What's going on?
Moon Lake is gorgeous, but it's so remote. The park ranger is the closest thing they have to a sheriff around here.
Park ranger? What's he like?
Which, as we all know, is Bess's way of saying, park ranger? Is he cute?
Not true, George. Nancy thinks everybody's cute, so what will be the point? Anyway, Nancy, you were saying?
His name's Jeff Akers. He's very helpful, polite, efficient, knowledgeable.
Sounds boring.
In fact, he probably knows more about the area than all the other residents of Moon Lake combined.
Sounds very boring.
What's he know about these alleged ghost dogs?
He thinks they're just plain old dogs that for some reason like to run around at night scaring people.
And what does Detective Drew think about the dogs?
I think Sally had good reason to be scared of them. I don't blame her for leaving, which leads me to think that maybe that was the whole idea.
Somebody had those dogs attack Sally in order to scare her away?
Why would anybody do that? She was there for less than a month.
You'd have to be a total creep to make enemies that fast. And Sally's one of the nicest people I know.
Ooh, Nancy! Speaking of cute guys, Frank and Joe Hardy called. I filled them in on where you are and what you're doing, and they're dying to hear from you.
yeah? What are they up to?
Compared to you, nothing. As I was telling them about this latest case of yours, I could hear them turning green with envy right through the receiver.
Their number is 280-555-4865. Bess didn't recognize it when they called and almost didn't answer the phone.
Good thing my cousin here has a memory like an elephant, huh?
What's that supposed to mean?
Call them, Nancy. They're dying to hear from you. But remember, Frank's cute and all that, but George and I want to hear from you, too.
Yeah, no fair discussing the case with them from now on and not with us. Promise you'll keep us up to speed?
I promise. This birdwatcher I met has got me taking pictures of birds for some survey he's doing. He's a bit of a grump.
Does he live nearby?
No, he just kind of hangs out in the woods. In fact, I only see him at night.
Interesting. He's in the woods at night. The dogs are in the woods at night.
Could he have had a reason for wanting Sally out of the Malone house?
As far as I know, he and Sally were on good terms. But I also know that Red doesn't seem to have much use for any life form that doesn't molt.
He sounds like my Uncle Zach. He's into birds. Only he doesn't watch them. He hunts them, then shoots them. I never really liked my Uncle Zach.
Did I mention that all the water in Sally's house comes from a well?
Ew, really? Does it taste like rotten eggs?
Not all well water tastes like rotten eggs, Bess.
I don't know if it does or not. Because the well is so old, I need to get the water tested before I drink it.
Good plan. Nothing will wreck your day faster than a nice tall glass of contaminated water.
Bye, you guys.
Don't be a stranger.
Take care.
Hello?
Hey, Joe. It's Nancy.
Nancy, how's it going? No, wait, don't answer that. Talk about the weather or something.
The weather?
Yeah, that'll give me time to grab the other phone and take it outside. Frank's washing the car. He'll kill me if he misses anything. Here, wait a sec. Take a break, it's Nancy. Hang on, he's putting the hose down. He's drying his hands. He's walking over.
Nancy, hi. What's up? Bess and George say you've got another mystery on your hands.
Or should we say, on your paws.
They told you about the dogs?
We made them tell us everything. Pumped them dry.
As you may have guessed, we're not exactly rolling in detective work here.
So you're living vicariously through me.
It's not the first time, sad to say.
What conclusions have you reached so far, Detective?
I'm convinced that someone is using those ghost dogs to scare Sally into abandoning Malone's house. If I can just figure out why, I might be able to figure out who.
Never hurts to look for motive.
Malone and his 4 dogs are supposedly buried in a little cemetery near the house. They've all got headstones inscribed with when they were born and when they died.
That's interesting. Did Malone have family?
Not that I'm aware of.
Then who had the tombstones inscribed?
That's exactly what I was wondering.
Sounds like this latest puzzle of yours is still missing a few pieces.
Later, guys.
We'll be waiting.
You find all the birds?
I found some birds, but no matter how quiet I am, I've been scaring other birds away before I can take their picture. What am I doing wrong?
You're wearing those clothes. That's what you're doing wrong. You need to blend in, like me. Go back over to M's tacky tourist trap and get yourself some camouflage gear. Only sensible thing that money grubber carries.
I'm sorry, but finding those birds is harder than I thought it would be. Can you give me any tips?
You gotta look for them. This isn't gonna be any Sunday picnic, you know? And try early in the morning. That's when most of them are singing.
See you in a while.
Yeah.
Howdy, Nancy.
I need to buy something.
You want it? I got it. Long as you pay cash, that is.
That's just it. I'm running kind of low on cash. Would it be possible to start a line of credit?
My daddy always said, neither a borrower nor a lender be. But I'll tell you what, seeing as how you're a friend of Sally's, and seeing as how I got some things around here that could use doing, I guess we could work something out. What is it you need?
To make a long story short, I need some camouflage gear.
Got some right over here. One size fits all. But I'm running kind of low on bait. So if you go out and get me, say a dozen little critters, I'll give you the camos.
A dozen little critters?
Worms, spiders, beetles, grubs. Anything that wriggles on its belly'll do. Just look under stuff. Rocks, logs, dead leaves. Should be able to find 12 in no time.
Hunting for critters isn't illegal, is it?
Things ain't quite that bad around here. Least not yet. Now, if Jeff Akers' daddy was still around, you might get arrested for cruelty to animals or some such nonsense. Joe Akers used to be the deputy sheriff. Real critter lover, that one was.
Joe Akers is Jeff's father?
That's right.
Do you sell sandpaper by any chance?
I do. But Mr. Birdbrain was in last week and cleaned me out. Said he was tired of that observation platform of his giving him splinters in his hinter regions.
Think I could get some from him?
He's your only hope. But you better ask him for it quick. That deck of his is pretty big, and those squares I sold him are pretty small.
Guess I'll see you later.
I guess you will. Hey, Nancy, how's the bait finding coming along?
12 big, fat, juicy ones, just like you wanted.
Well now, you done all right for a city gal. Here you go. Hope whatever you're hiding from won't catch you. How you holding up?
Any word from Tucker, what's his name? He hasn't been by to move that tree yet.
I'll give him another call. But like I said, the man marches to the beat of another drummer. A very slow drummer.
Guess I'll see you later.
You betcha.
How's the bird watching coming along?
I'm sorry to keep bugging you, but I need some sandpaper. Emily said you might have some.
Here, take it and scram. I was just about to call in a meadowlark. That was always Ruth's favorite.
Was Ruth your wife?
Good heavens, no. My wife had no patience for birding. Ruth was my dog. Border collie. She'd hear a meadowlark, and by golly, her ears would perk, and she'd cock her head, and she'd just come as close to smiling as ever a dog could.
Do many people around here own dogs?
Not really. Most people don't bother. The place is surrounded by park land, and Ranger Akers just loves enforcing the leash laws. There it is again. Take your sandpaper and go sand something, okay?
You're back.
I found a newspaper dating back to 1927 in Sally's house. Since you're kind of an expert on the history of Moon Lake, do you mind if I ask you some questions about Mickey Malone?
Not at all.
The article mentioned that a man named William Akers used to work for Malone. Is he a relative of yours?
No. Quite a coincidence, I'll admit, but no. I am in no way related to the head flunky of some two-bit gangster and his gang of thugs.
I found this old picture in Sally's house. Do you know who these people are?
The man is Mickey Malone, I know that. I'm guessing that this is his girlfriend, Vivian Burnett, I think her name was. And judging by the year of that brand new Ford in the background, I'd say the picture was taken in 1928.
What would be the best way for me to find out who was living in Moon Lake in 1928 and where they ended up?
Tell you what, Miss Drew. Why don't I go through my files and see what I can dig up on this mystery woman? I'm a busy man, but like I always say, I'm here to serve.
When and why was Malone arrested?
I'm sorry, Miss Drew. As usual, I'm a little pressed for time. If you have more questions, why don't you sit down at the computer and peruse the Moon Lake database of fascinating factoids that I've put together?
What happened to Akers and the rest of Malone's gang after he went to prison?
Fortunately for Moon Lake, they all left and went their separate ways.
Have you gotten the results back from that water sample I left with you?
I meant to call the Department of Health today for a status report, but frankly, I've been way too busy.
Sounds like Moon Lake could use 2 rangers.
If I were in charge of just 10 more acres of parkland, they'd give me an assistant, and I could devote more time to the acquisition of more land and eventually put Moon Lake on the map as one of the biggest, most popular parks in the state.
Why didn't the Parks Department buy the Malone property instead of Sally?
She outbid them, the cheapskates.
Well, if those dogs scare Sally away for good, other people are bound to think twice about buying the place. The bank will lower its price, and you'll have your land.
You're insinuating things again, Miss Drew.
I'm sorry, I really am. It's just that Sally's my friend, and I'd really like to find out why someone's doing this to her.
Tell you what, if you're serious about making amends, there's some boxes by the computer labeled with dates. They're from the estate of a local history buff. She kept everything from newspaper clippings to old photos to recipes for apple crisp. She put everything in envelopes, then numbered them by year using Roman numerals. Just put the envelopes in order by year with the earliest date in front. Oh, and if you're rusty on Roman numerals, there's an entry on them in the computer.
I hope I don't get distracted. Apple crisp sounds good right now.
Don't go reading anything until you're through, or take my word for it, you'll never get finished.
I've been trying to take pictures of birds for this guy named Red Knot. Ever met him?
Oh yes, the Birdman. I'd stay away from him if I were you.
Why? Is something wrong with him?
He's a fanatic. He's got it in his head that Moon Lake would be the best bird-watching venue in the world except for one thing. Too many people. Believe me, if there was a way to get this park shut down and all the homes on the lake torn down, he'd do it in an instant.
Thanks for all your help.
Always a pleasure. You're back.
I finished putting all those envelopes in order.
Excellent. Thank you, Miss Drew. And to show my gratitude, I've got something for you.
Chances are it isn't a paycheck.
No, it's an honorary Junior Park Ranger pin. I keep them on hand so I can give them out to children whom I see demonstrating respect for park rules and regulations. A little bit of positive reinforcement. Unfortunately, I don't get to give them out that often.
Oh, gee, thanks, Ranger Akers. Thanks for all your help.
Always a pleasure. Good news! I have information on your mystery woman.
Thank you so much. Is she still alive?
Her name these days is Vivian Whitmore. She lives in Las Vegas, and her number is 702-555-9137.
Sorry to bother you again, but did those results from the water test come in yet?
Oh, there's something here for you from the State Department of Health.
Oh my gosh, not only is the water bad, but it seems like the well may have been contaminated deliberately.
I wouldn't go jumping to conclusions without proof, Ms. Drew. I'm sure there's a far less melodramatic explanation.
What do you know about a man named Joe Akers?
Why do you ask?
I recently found out that William Akers had a son.
All right. William Akers was my grandfather.
Why didn't you tell me that before?
It's not exactly something I'm proud of. My father spent his whole life trying to make people forget what my grandfather was, and trying to make sure people who didn't know what he was never found out. I've been doing the same thing.
What did William Akers do after Malone was arrested?
I'm afraid you're going to have to excuse me, Miss Drew. In case you've forgotten, I'm a very busy man. I apologize for my previous behavior. As a park ranger, I strive to keep my personal feelings in check at all times, and that time I failed. It's my duty as a public servant to try to make it up to you. What would you like to know?
What can you tell me about the gold that Malone supposedly buried on his property?
As far as I know, it doesn't exist. It's just one of those rumors people want to believe, so they do.
Thanks for all your help.
Not a problem.
Nice Junior Park Ranger pin. You must really be on Akers' good side.
I found an old newspaper in Sally's house that contained an article on Mickey Malone. It really got my curiosity going. What else can you tell me about him?
Person you should talk to is Jeff Akers. He's got this historical museum thing going out at that ranger station of his.
Do you know anything about the gold that Mickey Malone supposedly buried somewhere on his property?
All I got to say about it is, if there really was a bunch of gold buried somewhere and nobody ever found it, it's for darn sure nobody ever will. Not with them dogs up there.
Guess I'll see you later.
Always a pleasure.
If you're selling something, hang up right now. I got an air horn in my hand that could deafen a dinosaur, and I'm not afraid to use it.
Oh, no, please. I'm not selling anything. Believe me. Is this Vivian Whitmore?
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. You got exactly 5 seconds to state your business.
My name is Nancy Drew. I'm calling from Moon Lake, Pennsylvania. I just wanted to ask you some questions.
Oh, right. The Moon Lake Park Ranger said you might call. But you have to talk fast. An old friend of mine is flying in today from Florida. And when I say old, I mean old, as in 5 years older than I am. Don't bother trying to do the math, sweet stuff. You'll hurt yourself. So, that ranger fella said you found an old picture of me.
It was of you and Mickey Malone. Do you remember him?
Of course I remember him. I remember everything about that time of my life. It was the roaring 20s, for crying out loud. One of the most exciting decades in American history. Just because I've got a few years on most people doesn't mean my brain's turned to tapioca, sweet stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you.
Mickey and I dated for 5 years. Oh, I knew what he was, and I didn't approve, believe you me. But I was young, and we got along so well, and he was so considerate. He always kept birch beer on tap at that speakeasy of his just for me.
Do you know anything about the safe that's in the cellar of his house at Moon Lake?
You must be talking about the wall safe. That was Willie's. He was a guy who worked for Mickey.
Did all Malone's employees have their own safes?
Not hardly. Mickey treated most of his employees like dirt, but not Willie. He honestly liked Willie, trusted him. And when Willie decided he wanted his own safe, Mickey said, "What the hey?" No one knew the combination, not even Mickey. Mostly because Willie was constantly changing it. He was a little paranoid and superstitious. Well, as I recall, he picked the most unlucky number he could think of and used that for the combination. He called it a reverse jinx.
Unlucky number? Like what?
Oh, like the date that something bad happened, like when the stock market crashed, or when somebody died, or the address of a house that caught fire, or the phone number of the police, that sort of thing.
What can you tell me about Malone's Speakeasy?
It was in the basement, right there at Moon Lake. Feds never knew about it, but everybody who was anybody on the East Coast back then, actors, musicians, bankers, politicians, they knew. You weren't big time unless you'd made at least one trip to Moon Lake Mickey's.
That's weird. I'm staying in his old house on Moon Lake, and I haven't seen any sign of a speakeasy.
Course you haven't. You're not supposed to. Only Mickey and Willie knew how to get into the speakeasy from the house. The rest of us had to go in and out the regular way, through the cemetery.
The cemetery?
There was a lock hidden in one of the tombstones in that little cemetery behind the house. You needed a key to unlock it, and when you did, stairs would appear that led to the speakeasy.
Do you have any idea how to get into Malone's Speakeasy from the house?
I sure don't. That saloon was built using 2 main ingredients, concrete and secrecy. Mickey always bragged that nobody could get in unless he wanted them in, and I do believe he was right. But I'll tell you what, if you send me that picture of me and Mickey, I'll send you my key.
The key to the tombstone? You still have it?
It's in the bottom of my jewelry box. I've come this close to throwing it out 100 times, but it's so small, and the memories it brings back are so big. Well, I just couldn't, as a joke. Mickey had a tombstone made with the name of this federal agent who had it out for him inscribed on it. That's the one the key unlocks.
William Akers, the guy you call Willie. He wrote about looking for the gold that Malone had supposedly buried on his property at Moon Lake. Do you know anything about that?
The hole-in-the-floor gold heist. Well, I'll be darned.
So it's true? He did bury gold on his property?
Truth be told, when Mickey told me he was the one who pulled off that heist and that he'd buried 20 gold bars at Moon Lake, I didn't believe him. I thought he was making it up. See, Mickey and I were on the outs by then. I thought he was just trying to entice me to come back. But if he told Willie the same thing, maybe there's something to the story after all.
Do you have any idea where he might have hidden it?
Afraid not. Mickey was so secretive. that the men who completed his house at Moon Lake were not only forbidden to talk about the work they'd done, but they were ordered to leave the state for good, or else. But you know, I think he mentioned a map. Yes. He said he was making a treasure map in that... the dogs. Something about those dogs of his.
The dogs will lead the way?
He was always saying that. In fact, I'm pretty sure he had it engraved on his tombstone. Think, Viv, think! He said he was making a treasure map, and that he was also having paintings done of each dog. He made it sound like one thing had something to do with the other, like he was giving me some big important clue. But I just figured he was playing games, trying to lure me back with mystery and intrigue. I told him to buzz off. Maybe I shouldn't have.
Did he say what he was going to do with the paintings?
He said he was going to hang them in the Speakeasy, and I'm sure that's precisely what he did.
Can you remember anything about Malone's dogs that might suggest where he hid the gold?
I stayed away from his dogs. They made me nervous, always jumping around, barking at this or that. The only one I liked was, what was his name? Iggy. I liked Iggy because he was nice and quiet. He just lay on the porch all day and didn't make a peep.
It's been fun talking to you.
Absolutely, positively.
Hello?
Bess, it's Nancy.
I know that. What's going on?
Get this. It turns out that Jeff Akers will be one happy park ranger if Sally sells her Moon Lake property back to the bank, and they wind up selling it to the Parks Department.
You think he might be responsible for all this ghost dog stuff?
All I know is that he wants very badly to be the head honcho of a major state park, and I have a feeling he'd be willing to do almost anything to help the Parks Department acquire the old Malone place.
I still say you guys should lighten up on him.
You two would get a kick out of the woman who owns this little store on Moon Lake.
How so?
She's a real country gal. We got this deal worked out where if I need something she carries, she'll let me do little chores to pay for it.
What kind of little chores?
Oh, like collecting bugs and worms so she can sell them to fishermen as bait.
Sounds delightful.
Unfortunately, she may not be as harmless as she seems.
Why do you say that?
She also sells antiques from the 1920s that she finds in Moon Lake.
Is that bad?
If she's been getting them by dragging the lake in front of Sally's house, it is. That's illegal.
You know what that means?
It means Emily Griffin has made my suspect list.
Because if she is breaking the law, she'd want the Malone house to stay empty so she can keep dragging the lake without anybody seeing her.
I think somebody may have deliberately put poison down Sally's well.
Yikes!
What makes you think that?
The Department of Health found unusually high levels of arsenic in the water sample I sent them.
Somebody's trying to poison you with arsenic?
They said that?
They weren't sure. They were going to run some more tests.
So somebody could be trying to poison you.
But you don't know for sure.
Right. And they may not be trying to poison anybody. They may want to contaminate the well just enough to force Sally to either go to the expense of digging a new one or forget the whole thing and leave.
And because arsenic is found naturally in well water anyway, you may never know for sure. Bummer.
I found the coolest old newspaper. It's from 1927, and on the front page is an article about Mickey Malone and a man named William Akers.
Akers? Any relation to Park Ranger Jeff Akers?
When I asked, Jeff Akers said that it was just a huge unfortunate coincidence. According to the paper, William Akers was Mickey Malone's most trusted employee, his #1 go-to guy.
Where'd you find it?
You know how I always seem to wind up in houses with secret passageways?
Sometimes I think they follow you around.
Well, I found these hidden stairs leading from the living room into the cellar.
What's down there?
That's what's weird. The stairs led down into this empty space. There's some kind of safe in the wall and a set of stairs leading to a door that goes outside, but that was it.
Why would Malone bother hiding a staircase if it didn't go somewhere important?
Hey, newsflash. I think I know why somebody wants to scare Sally off her property, and it has nothing to do with birds, parks, or artifacts.
So what does it have to do with?
Gold, as in 600 pounds of gold bullion.
Come on, Nancy, tell us everything. Gold is one of my favorite subjects.
Well, I found William Akers' journal, who, it turns out, was our friendly park ranger's grandfather.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Not as interesting as 600 pounds of gold. Go on, Nancy.
In the journal, I found a map with the inscription, "The dogs will lead the way."
You found a treasure map? My gosh, Nancy. Secret passageways, buried treasure? You're like a magnet for that stuff.
The dogs will lead the way to what?
Malone apparently masterminded a huge gold heist and buried the loot at Moon Lake in a secret location. According to the journal, Malone left Akers the map and said it would show him where the gold was, but all it has on it is that inscription and some landmarks.
What kind of landmarks?
The house, the shoreline, some rocks in the lake, the pump, the cemetery, and it's crisscrossed with lines like a grid.
A grid? Sounds like precise locations are involved.
Malone's girlfriend, Vivian, said that Malone hired an artist to do paintings of his dogs right around the time he was bragging about creating a map that would lead to his gold.
Have you seen the paintings?
They're not in the house, so either they're in the Speakeasy, which I still haven't gotten into, or they're long gone.
Keep looking for them, Nan. If they were done at the same time as that map, they could contain some kind of clue.
Bye, you guys.
Good luck, Nancy.
And stay in touch.
How's the bird watching coming along?
Mickey Malone supposedly buried a bunch of stolen gold bars on his property way back in the 20s. Did you know that?
Really? That's interesting. I don't much care, but it's interesting.
So you don't know anything about it?
Nope.
I just can't seem to find a red-tailed hawk. Any suggestions?
Well, there's gotta be lots around here. You haven't been going around wearing sunglasses and earmuffs, have you?
No, Red, I haven't.
Well, according to my bird map, they like to nest in the big tree that's just to the southwest of the Malone house. I suggest you park yourself nearby and wait. Bound to spot one sooner or later.
See you in a while.
Shh, down a notch. Remember. What in blazes happened? I saw the fire from my platform and came running. You weren't in there playing with matches, were you?
I was looking at birds, and then I noticed something on the house, and the next thing I knew I was locked in the tool shed and somebody was setting it on fire.
Whoa, you're not making much sense. Probably smoke inhalation or something. Come talk to me after you've cleaned yourself up and gotten some sleep. I need to tell you something.
Somebody tried to kill you?
I didn't say that.
Somebody knocked you out, locked you in a shed, set it on fire, and you think they were, what, just pulling a prank? Wake up and smell the hostile vibes, Nancy.
I guess it's just hard for me to believe that anybody would consider me to be that big a threat.
I should have never let you stay there by yourself.
Sally, I'm fine. I feel bad about your tool shed, though.
Who cares about the shed? It was full of junk anyway. I'm glad to be rid of it.
That's kind of the way Ranger Akers saw it, too. He showed up right after the birdwatcher did and ticketed me for burning refuse in a manner that endangered park property.
That man is insufferable.
Emily was nice, though. She came by right afterwards and wouldn't leave until I drank the tea she made for me.
Look, Nancy, one more time. If you want to leave, just say the word and I'll come get you.
Sally, one more time. I'm fine.
Well, then promise me you'll be careful, okay?
I promise. I'll be in touch.
You better.
Hello there. I owe you an apology. After you came up here looking for those red tails, I gave my map a closer look and realized it was more than 50 years old. Reason you can't find them is probably because their favorite nesting tree is gone. Finding that hawk's gonna be harder than I thought, so why don't you just give me back my camera and I'll take it from here. It didn't get burned up in that fire or anything, did it?
Somebody clobbers me over the head and then tries to barbecue me, and all you're worried about is your camera?
It's a very expensive camera.
I never noticed those gas cans before.
I ran out of gas. So much for being prepared, huh? Well, that's all I wanted to tell you. I'm sure you've got places to go, things to see, people to pester.
You'll be happy to know that I did get a picture of a red-tailed hawk. So here's your camera back. I got all the birds.
Thank you, Nancy. Nice work. You're a credit to your generation.
See you in a while.
Yeah.
Hello again, Miss Drew. Am I in for another interrogation?
I'd like to mail this photo to the woman in Las Vegas. Can you do that for me?
As always, I'm here to serve, Miss Drew. Just give it to me and I'll take care of it. I'm sure she'll be very pleased to get this back.
Did your grandfather ever find any gold on Malone's property?
If he did, he never spent it. He wasn't poor when he died, but he certainly wasn't rich.
Thanks for all your help.
Always a pleasure.
Hello?
Hi, Frank.
Hey, Nancy. Hey, Joe. Pick up the phone. Joe's in the kitchen. Worked up a real appetite watching me vacuum out the car. Hello?
Hi, Joe. It's Nancy. What are you eating?
Sandwich. Either roast beef or really old turkey. Can't tell. Don't care. So how's life as a dog catcher?
I managed to get in touch with someone who used to be Malone's girlfriend. She says there's a speakeasy beneath Sally's house.
But you haven't been in it yet?
No, Vivian, that's her name. She's going to send me her key. I'm not even going to tell you what the key unlocks.
So you could literally be sitting on top of a speakeasy?
Cool. How do you think your suspects would feel if that turns out to be the case?
Emily Griffin would no doubt be thrilled at the chance to collect artifacts on dry land for once.
But it would be easier to collect them if no one else knew about the speakeasy. So if she somehow knows about it and figures you and Sally don't...
She'd have a motive for trying to scare us off the property.
In other words, you're right back where you started. Maybe Emily has a motive, maybe she doesn't. Anything else my genius brother and I can help you with, Nancy?
I'm pretty sure I know why somebody wants Sally out of the Malone house.
So come on, spill.
Apparently, Malone stole a small fortune in gold bars off a train and hid them somewhere on his property here. They've never been found.
How do you know?
One of his employees, a guy named William Akers, kept a journal, which I found and of course read.
Of course. Wait a sec. Did you say William Akers?
Who, as it turns out, was our friendly park ranger's grandfather.
Whoa.
According to his journal, William Akers spent months following each dog around, hoping one of them would lead him to the gold. None ever did.
So they didn't go running off into the woods, never to be seen again after all.
Apparently, they stayed around Malone's house for years. William Akers went to the house every day and fed them until they all finally died.
But according to their tombstones, they all died on the same day.
Those inscriptions were Malone's idea. Akers was just following instructions.
And in all that time, William Akers never found any trace of the gold?
I'm beginning to see why he was superstitious. When it came to luck, he didn't seem to have much. Of the good kind, at least.
What happened to him anyway?
After 9 years of searching for the gold, he finally gave up. About a year after Malone died, he put his journal in the safe, locked it up for the last time, and walked away a broken man.
That's what he gets for hitching his wagon to the star of a gangster.
A second-class gangster at that. If it had been Al Capone, maybe he could have sold his memoirs to Hollywood or something. But a flash in the pan like Mickey Malone? Not a chance.
So if you guys were 600 pounds of gold bullion, where would you be?
Maybe Malone hid it in the speakeasy.
Maybe. The longer I stay in this house, the more it seems like nothing's impossible.
Keep the faith, Nancy. If that gold hasn't been found yet, all it means is that nobody as smart as you has looked for it yet.
Later, guys.
You bet.
Bye, Nancy.
A package just arrived for you from Las Vegas.
Great. Vivian sent me the key.
I'll dispose of the package. Wouldn't want to break any littering laws, would we?
Thanks for all your help.
Not a problem.
How you holding up?
Does the name Waldo Matthias mean anything to you?
Can't say as it does.
I need flashlight batteries. Do you carry them?
Yep. But you know, I've been meaning to make a purty display out of them packs of combo coal over there for the longest time. Just can't seem to get around to it.
In other words, you'd like me to give it a shot.
Here's the way it should look when you're done.
Ta-da! One smiling goldfish. It's obviously never tried combo cola.
Hey, Nancy, this mean you got them cans stacked?
You bet. They look just like the picture you gave me, which you can have back.
Here's your batteries, and thanks, Nancy.
600 pounds of gold bullion. Wow.
Hey there, Nancy. Why, what on earth have we got here? There's plenty of gold here we can share. Let me out of here, Nancy! Nancy, wait. Let's talk about this. This can just be our little secret. You scratch my back, I scratch yours, remember? Nancy!
The gold's all yours, Em. Enjoy it while you can. Dear Ned, as soon as I got out of the tunnels, Emily had left a door open. I called the sheriff. But when I led him back down the well to the room where I'd left Emily, she refused to leave. He and his deputies finally got her out, but one of them said afterward that if he had to choose between getting a bear away from her cub and getting Emily away from that gold, he'd pick the bear. What's worse, by the time they took Emily away, the place was swarming with reporters from all over the country. The commotion has scared away every bird for miles. I'm pretty sure Red Knot would like to strangle me. On the other hand, when Ranger Akers found out that 7 cars and 2 helicopters were illegally parked on park property and that he was going to get to ticket them, he was ecstatic. Tucker Davis finally cleared away that dead tree, which means I'm free to drive home. Moon Lake is beautiful, but I've had enough wildlife for now. Which reminds me, did I mention that those 4 ghost dogs are actually very sweet? They're so sweet, in fact, that Sally is seriously thinking about adopting them. How's that for irony? Ever yours, Nancy.